مرحبا أهلا وسهلا بكم. Welcome again to our Gateway to Arabic series with me, Dr. Imran Hamza Alawiye. Today's lesson is going to be from page 8 of the Gateway to Arabic book 6, and we are going to be learning about uses of the moods of the Arabic verbs. You may recall that in the past we have learned how to conjugate the perfect verb, which is called al-fi'lu al-madi, and that is past tense. We also learned about how to conjugate the imperfect indicative, and that's the present tense. الفعل المضارع المرفوع. In the nominative, we call it the imperfect indicative. المضارع المرفوع. Today we are going to learn about the subjunctive. Subjunctive is when you have certain particles before the imperfect indicative الفعل المرفوع المضارع المرفوع to turn it into المضارع المنصوب, the subjunctive. To establish this, let's start with the imperfect indicative المضارع المرفوع. Now there are 5 areas of this imperfect indicative where you have dhamma as your case ending, because dhamma, it is what we call alama asliya. It is the default of the al-mudari' al-marfu'. What are these 5 areas? Let's use the verb yadrusu to indicate this. Yadrusu means he studies or studying, because mudari', as you know, it is something which is ongoing or already commencing. That's a mudari', something's already happening or is going to happen. So, yadrusu, he studies or studying. You can see the scene, which is your 3rd root letter carrying dhamma, and that's alama asliya to tell us this is the indicative, this is marfu'a. Okay, because when we say case ending, we are talking about the haraka or the sign on the last root letter. That's what it is. Okay, yadrusu, he studies. Also, tadrusu, that means she studies. Tadrusu, that's also carrying dhamma. That's the 2nd place where you find this dhamma. The 3rd one is when you are speaking to a singular male. You say, tadrusu, you are studying or study. Tadrusu, that's 3 now. Number 4 is I study or studying. I will say, adrusu. Adrusu, that's number 4. Or when we say we are studying, nadrusu. So those 5, you see the dhamma on them in this imperfect indicative al-mudari' al-marfu'. So yadrusu, he studies. Tadrusu, she studies. Tadrusu, you are singular male studying. Adrusu, I study. And nadrusu, we study or studying. Okay, now in these 5 areas, if you have some of the particles that we are going to mention shortly, before them, it turns that into the subjunctive, which means you have to remove that dhamma and replace it with fatha. An example, for instance, if you want to say, I would like to study the Arabic language. I would like to study the Arabic language. I would say, Uridu an adrusa. You see, adrusu becomes adrusa because of we have an before it. Uridu an adrusa al-lughata al-arabiyya. I would like to study the Arabic language. One more example. If you say, what are you studying, or what are you studying at the university, for instance, speaking to a man, you say, ماذا تدرس في الجامعة? What are you studying? But if when you say, what would you like to study? You say, ماذا تريد أن تدرس? Becomes فتحة. ماذا تريد أن تدرس في الجامعة? What would you like to study at the university? So that's what happens to imperfect indicative once you have certain particles before them. We're going to make lists of those particles shortly. Okay, that's the second area we're going to look at is, what about if the imperfect indicatives not ending with the dhamma, but rather ending with a noun? We call it thubut noun. Thubut noun here is to indicate that it's the nominative mood. Okay, so there are 7 areas there. 7. Number 1, when you say they, meaning 2 men are studying, you say yadurusani. You see the noun at the end carrying kasra, and before it you have the lengthening alif. Yadurusani. They are studying. That's 1. Number 2, where you have that noun as well in the imperfect indicative, is tadurusani. They, meaning 2 women, are studying. Tadurusani. You find it also when you are addressing 2 men, you say tadurusani. You are studying. The same is when you are addressing 2 women. You say tadurusani. You are studying. So that's 4 now. The 5th one is when you say they, meaning 3 or more men are studying, you say yadurusuna. Here you have the noun carrying fatha, and before that you have the lengthening waw. Yadurusuna. They are studying. That's number 5. Number 6 is when you are addressing, you are speaking to 3 or more men. You are studying. You say tadurusuna. Again, the same noun with fatha, and before it you have the waw. Waw al-jama'a. Tadurusuna. You are studying. Okay. The last one is number 7, is speaking to a singular woman, female. You say tadurusina. Again, you have that in na ending. Before it you have the lengthening ya. So those 7 areas where you don't have the dhamma, but you have alama far'iyya. You have the secondary case ending instead. So in those 7 areas, when you have the particle with subjunctive before that, what you need to do is to remove you delete the noun. So example, for instance, if you say, what are you studying at the university? You say, ماذا تدرساني. You are speaking to 2 men or 2 women, it's the same. ماذا تدرساني في الجامعة. What are you studying at the university? But it turned that into, what would you like to study at the university? You say, ماذا تريداني أن تدرسا. You remove the noun because of the particle أن. ماذا تريدان أن تدرسا في الجامعة. What would you like to study at the university? Okay, give you one more example. So if you are speaking to a group of men and you say, what would you like to study? You will say, ماذا تريدون أن تدرسوا. You remove the noun. Don't say أن تدرسون. Now you say ماذا تريدون أن تدرسوا في الجامعة. What would you like to study at the university? So in those 7 areas we just outlined, when you have any of the particles that we are going to give you shortly, you remove the noun of those verbs. Okay. So we've done the 5 with Dhamma, we've done the 7 with the noun that we have to remove. Now, let's look at the last 2 of the indicative, the imperfect indicative marfu'. When you say they are studying, meaning 3 women or more, and that is yadrusna. They are studying. You see that the saying here, the 3rd root letter is carrying sukun, and that's mabni. It has to be like that with sukun. So they are, meaning women, are studying yadrusna. If you want to speak to, you are speaking to female, 3 or more in front of you, again you say tadrusna. You are studying with sukun on the saying, which is your last root letter. In this case, when you have one of the particle, in the subjunctive case, before them, you do not delete that noun. You leave it as it is. You just say, what would you like to study? For instance, when you're speaking to a group of women, you say, ماذا تريدنا? ماذا تريدنا أن تدرسنا? So you leave it, you don't delete it, no, because there's no lengthening alif or waw before it, or ya. So, ماذا تريدنا أن تدرسنا في الجامعة? What would you like to study at the university? So that is the impact of these particles when you have them before the imperfect indicative, before the al-fi'lu al-mudari' al-marfu', to turn it into the subjunctive mood, which is al-mudari' al-mansub. I've made up some sentences for you, which is not in the book, so make note of these sentences. Okay, let's go. Number 1. أحب أن أتعلم العربية لأنها لغة جميلة جدا. أحب أن أتعلم اللغة العربية لأنها لغة جميلة جدا. I would love to learn the Arabic language because it is a very beautiful language. أحب أن أتعلم اللغة العربية لأنها لغة جميلة جدا. Second sentence. انضممت إلى هذه القناة لأتعلم اللغة العربية الفصحى. انضممت إلى هذه القناة ليتعلم اللغة العربية الفصحى. انضممت. انضممت, that's me, I join or I subscribe, if you like. I subscribe إلى هذه القناة, to this channel. Of course, I hope you are. You subscribe to my channel. Yes, please. So, انضممت إلى هذه القناة ليتعلم. I subscribe to this channel in order to ليتعلم. That's المضمرة من لأن أتعلم. So لأتعلم اللغة العربية الفصحى, in order to learn the standard Arabic. Okay, next one. اشترك في هذه القناة. اشترك في هذه القناة لئلا أو كي لا أو لكي لا يفوتك أي درس. So اشترك, that also means subscribe. Subscribe في هذه القناة. So subscribe to this channel, to my channel. Why? لئلا أو كي لا أو لكي لا. That's mean so that لكي لا يفوتك أي درس, so that you don't miss any lesson. So if you subscribe to it, you get notification and you get all my lessons. Yes, please do. So اشترك في هذه القناة لئلا أو كي لا أو لكي لا يفوتك أي درس. Okay, next one. سأستمر في تعلم المفردات حتى أجيدها. So سأستمر في تعلم المفردات حتى أجيد اللغة العربية, for instance. So I'll continue to learn my vocabulary بانتظام, if you like, بانتظام, regularly. So I'll continue, سأستمر في تعلم المفردات حتى أجيد اللغة العربية, until, or so that I can become fluent in the Arabic language. These some of the sentences that I just made up for you, but alternatively in the book itself you have page 8, page 9, page 10. Do your exercises for me, and that's the only way you can confirm that you have understood these rules governing the subjunctive mode. I'll be with you again shortly, hopefully next lesson, inshallah, God willing. In the meantime, مع السلامة, إلى اللقاء, في أمان الله.